Hey guys, Em here. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys a few tips and tricks, little tweaks to really maximize and strengthen your high plank. High plank is something that is often just called out, high plank, without too much time or space to really kind of figure it out in order to progress and strengthen and get the most out of it. Let's start on hands and knees. So I'm going to talk you through this on the knees so that we don't get fatigued with all the time that I'm taking to talk, and we can actually concentrate on the individual pieces of the body rather than being focused on how much it is burning and hurting. Cool, guys. Okay, so we're going to work through the whole body. We'll start with the hands. So take a look down at your hands and just notice how they're placed without you kind of consciously changing or shifting or adjusting. This is going to be how you place your hands down when you're in a hurry or when there's not enough space or time to make any little tweaks. So quite often we're going to place a lot of unnecessary strain and pressure through the wrist joint. There's a really easy, simple way to mitigate that. So spread your fingers really nice and wide if you can, and I want you to press down into the fingertips, but also, you're not just pressing down, you're kind of letting the weight shift forward into your fingertips, almost as if you're going to lift the palms of your hands off the floor. So it might feel quite strange to start with, but this is a way that you can instantly strengthen up through the rest of your hands and your fingers without really dumping all your body weight down through your hands. Fingers spread wide. Press down through the fingertips, tip the weight into your fingertips and into that first set of knuckles. Imagine that you're about to lift the palms of your hands off the floor, okay? So that's number one. Then we move down to, up actually, to the elbows. So everyone's elbows are different, especially if you have any hyperextension like me, where the elbows kind of lock out and go into that funny shape where it looks kind of crazy. That's okay, there's nothing wrong with you. What we want to aim to get here is strength across all ranges. So if we just do one thing all the time, we're going to get really good at that, but we're not going to be strong in any other position. So it's good to practice sometimes with a little micro bend in the elbows, and you can also practice in full extension of the arm too. There's no real right or wrong there. What we do want is to have a kind of drawing back of the elbows towards the body so that when you hinge, you're not coming out wide like so. So it's almost like you're hugging the elbows in towards the body, okay? So front of the arms or the inner eye of the arm here will either be facing kind of in or forwards, depending on how mobile the elbow joint is. So elbows pointing back towards you. When you do that, there's also a kind of a hugging of the shoulder joint in to the socket. So rather than letting it just be wherever it wants to be, I want you to roll the shoulders back and think about plugging them into the socket. Now, if you have good mind to muscle awareness, and don't worry if this isn't here yet, as you do that, you'll feel these muscles here, the lats. The lats are going to engage. So you're engaging the lats, hugging the shoulders into the sockets. Now, moving to the shoulder blades, I want you to just experiment with letting the shoulder blades slide freely. So spreading apart, coming together, protracting, retracting. And then I want you to let them slide together across the back and then push the floor away just a little bit, keeping that engagement through the lats and the shoulder joints. Now you might already feel how much action is happening here. Like I can already feel this is getting quite difficult, even just to hold this little piece. So if you need to sit back and take a break, that's totally fine. Cool. So now we move down to the lower body. Now this is more important when we're up on the toes. When we're on the knees, the lower body becomes a little more redundant, or there's less of the lower body at play. Okay, so even if you're on your knees or your toes, we want to squeeze the butt. Squeezing the butt muscle, which is the biggest muscle in your body, is going to support the rest of your body, especially your back and your core. So what happens a lot when we are in a high plank is we'll often see the hips are too high. Yeah? So we're shying away from it like this. The shoulders are back. We're almost in a down dog. Yeah? The other thing we see is this kind of swaying or dropping of the hips, where I'm totally dumping into my lower back right now, which over time is just not going to be good. So we want to try and find somewhere in the middle between those two. Squeezing the butt is going to help. So if you were to go down just on your knees, and whenever you lower down through chaturanga in your yoga classes, you know that your knees is a better option for you. So what you want to do is squeeze the hands in towards each other. Not actually move them in, but you're energetically imagining that you're trying to squeeze the hands in together. This is going to activate your chest muscle. So you'll feel that if you have a go right now. Squeeze the thumbs in towards each other. Feel how that engages the chest muscle here. Cool. Now, the other action that you can try, if you're not quite sure what I meant by the elbows swinging back towards you, is you can imagine that you've got your hands around two jars. So you're holding onto two lids. And those jars, you're going to try to open them. So you're screwing the hands into the floor like you're trying to unscrew two lids off the jar. So if you just try that, that will bring the shoulder into the socket, that will engage the lats, and that will also bring the elbows back towards you. It's magic. Cool. So you've got the hands squeezing in, you've got the butt engaged, and then you want to have pubic bone zipped up towards the sternum. So there's none of this, because as soon as we do this, we're losing all core stability. So pull the front ribs towards the back ribs, zip the pubic bone up towards your sternum, towards your chest. Great. Weight in the fingertips, tip the weight forward so shoulders are above your wrists. If you're back here, you're not at your strongest point. If you're all the way forwards here, you're also not at your strongest point. Shoulders above wrists. Okay. Screw the jar lids, draw the hands in towards each other. As well as drawing the hands in towards each other, pull them back. So imagine that you're trying to drag the mat back towards you, hands towards your knees, okay? Draw the hands energetically back towards your knees. Right, now you've got all of this. Hold it and breathe. Can you feel how much action is happening with all these tiny little things? But this is what's going to hold you strong, safe, and stable in your plank. Cool. So if you are going to go up on your toes, it's exactly the same thing. It's just that there's going to be a little more effort required through the core and the legs. So if we're going on the toes, exactly the same thing. I'm setting up my hands just maybe a touch wider than my shoulders, but that's going to be quite an individual thing. So just play around with having a little closer, a little wider, and come to the toes. So this is where we start to get the dipping of the hips, or this lifting of the hips. People love to do high plank like this. Yeah? Cool. So with toes tucked, we are aiming to find this nice straight line out through the top of the head, out through the heels. So my chin is tucked in. I'm not doing this because as soon as I do this, my neck's going into extension and I'm straining. So back of the neck is long, zip the pubic bone up. Now I'm pushing out through my heels and I'm spiraling my inner thighs up towards the sky. Okay, inner thighs press towards the sky, pubic bone towards my sternum. And now I'm applying all the same actions to my hands, my shoulders. And I'm shaking. There's so much going on right now. Good. So come off those wrists, give them a little break, and we'll just summarize. If you want to write this down, you're more than welcome, or if you want to come back to this video at any point. So while we're rolling out the wrists, we're going to go over piece by piece. So chin is in. Not down, just in. So the back of my neck is long and free. My fingers are spread wide, and I'm putting weight through my fingertips, as well as the first set of knuckles, these ones here. Almost like I'm lifting the palms of the hands. Then I'm getting that screwing action to draw the elbows back towards me and to roll the shoulders into the sockets. Then I'm squeezing the hands in energetically towards each other to switch on my chest muscles. Then I'm drawing the hands back towards my toes or towards my knees, and this is going to switch on my core. You'll feel it as soon as you start to drag energetically, not actually physically. Imagine that you're trying to drag the top of the mat to the back of the mat. You'll feel that will switch on your core. Then that brings us to the bum down. Bum squeezes, and then you're tilting the pubic bone up towards your sternum. Cool. Once you've found all that, then check if you're still breathing. So you should still be able to breathe, okay? And the same applies if you're on your knees or your toes. But if you're on your toes, you're pushing out through the heels, and you're spiraling the inner thighs or rotating the inner thighs up towards the sky. Cool. So it should look something like this. Shoulder blades are squeezing together, and you're pressing the floor away. Awesome. Let me know how you get on. Send me a message. Request anything that you are really wanting to learn. And yeah, any questions, just let me know. Cool, guys. See you next time.